Hey everybody, Jay Reel here to give you the rundown on how the Boogie Camp should go. So we're really excited to have you all a part of it, and we may have a few glitches in the beginning, but we're going to learn from any mistakes we might make and make this a really fun camp for all the kids. That's the goal. So I'm going to refer to my computer a few times here, so forgive me for ducking down. So how it's going to work, we're going to have our camp directors be out at the road to meet the parents who are coming down, and that's going to be right at the base of the pier on the other side of the train tracks. That's the east side of the train tracks, right where Avenida Del Mar swings down there. It's called the Pier Bowl. So we'll have our directors there, and this will be after we've unloaded all the equipment from up in the parking lot and brought it down. So we want the instructors and the directors to be there to help unload and carry equipment. We're going to have a couple of wagons, and we're going to have the Easy Up tent, a table, a chair, at least one chair, a couple clipboards, and of course the bodyboards and all the swim fins. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of this. So the camp starts at 9 a.m. The first thing I have to say is the most important part of this is to make it super fun for the kids. You want to be upbeat, you want to be smiling, you want to answer any questions they have quickly and with hopefully a positive answer. You know, you're going to get kids who are going to say, "Are there sharks out there?" You know, try to brush that off with an answer like, "Well, sharks live in the ocean, but they're way offshore. Nothing to worry about." So, you know, we want the kids to have a positive experience. And in some cases, the parents are going to be there. So they're going to be listening to everything you say and watching everything you do. So again, keep it fun, keep it positive. We want to get the kids comfortable in the water. So some kids might not be at all comfortable in the ocean. Who knows? We might have kids that have never even been in the ocean. So we're not going to force any kid to do anything they don't want to do. That goes again back to the fun part of it. But we want to gently nudge them to get in the water, even if it's up to their ankles or knees, whatever the case may be, based on that particular kid's comfort level, you know. At the beginning of the camp for the week, you probably should ask them what's their ability level. How many times have they been bodyboarding? Is there anything they specifically want to learn? And then, you know, we can distribute kids to instructors based on their ability level. So that's going to be partially the camp director's responsibility, but also the instructors. And instructors, make sure you introduce yourselves to every kid. Ask their name, shake their hand, get to know them right off the bat. You want to establish a level of trust and comfort with them at the beginning. And, you know, you want to be on a first name basis. I know it's hard to remember names sometimes when you're dealing with 4 or 5 kids in your little group, but it'll happen very quickly and you'll remember their names. So at the very beginning, make sure that you introduce yourselves to all the kids. Each instructor should say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so." The next instructor, "My name is so-and-so," and like that. When you're giving them these tips on the beach, I want you to lay them out and get them in front of you and have their backs to the ocean, right? So they're sitting on the sand and you're talking. Your back should be where up at the beach trail. Their back should be to the ocean. The reason being, they'll get distracted if the ocean is in their sight. They'll be looking at stuff and not listening to you. So let's start out. First thing you're going to do with the kids is what we call SSS. That's stretch, sunscreen, and safety. So stretching, you just do some basic stretches for their backs and their legs and their arms. Doesn't have to be, you know, anything high tech, just super basic stretches just to keep them limber or warm them up and get ready. Make sure they put sunscreen on, obviously, even though it's been overcast a lot lately. We want to make sure none of the kids are going to get torched and their parents blame us for their sunburn. And then safety. Take a look out at the ocean. Some of you are more adept at reading waves and wind and currents than others. So I'm relying on those of you that are of that nature and have that knowledge to assess the conditions every day. So in the summer, the prevailing current, the longshore current, which is that current that runs along the shore, prevailing current is from south to north. So it's going to tend to want to sweep the kids into the pier, right? So you have to be aware of that and assess it. Some days with bigger swell, we're going to have a stronger current sweeping towards the pier. Days with smaller swell, maybe not the case. And there'll be an odd day here and there where we'll have a little bit of northwest swell that'll maybe keep the current neutral. The sandbars and the tides, that's all a part of it too. On the higher tide at that spot, it tends to be a little more shore breaky. Low tide, it might be a little more gentle, break a little further out. And the depth of the water will be affected as a result of that as well. So some of you, in fact, a lot of you are going to have younger kids that are maybe not even going to want to wear swim fins. They're just going to be wading out into waist deep water, and you're going to be pushing them onto waves. We'll get into that in a minute. But of course, just make them aware of the current. That's really important. Say, hey, just keep in mind there's a current. It's taking you towards the pier, and when you get to a certain spot, get out of the water and walk back. So make sure they're aware of that, and so they don't just zone out and get sucked into the pier, because that's going to be a constant issue through the summer. And along those lines, you're going to want to start them as far south as possible towards T Street in the water, because that current's going to take them back to where we have the easy up set up. So just make sure constantly when you're with them that they are aware of markers on the beach. When they get to a certain spot, they need to get out, and you need to tell them what that spot is. Also, if they're not wearing fins, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. In fact, that should be one of the SSS's, maybe SSSS, the fourth one being shuffle your feet. We all know there's stingrays on the bottom. If they're walking out with no fins on, have them shuffle their feet. That's pretty important, I think. Once you have given them this briefing, the next move would actually be to get them their equipment. So you take them over, you get them a board that fits them, and if they're keen to wear swim fins, get them a pair of swim fins that fits them. And we have cinches on all these fins, and in case you don't know how the cinches work, just to show you, they put their foot in the fin, and then you grab this little strap and you tighten it over their instep, and it holds the heel strap against the heel, keeps the fin from coming off. To get out of it, you just pull this tab and it loosens, right? Pull the strap to tighten, pull the tab to loosen. So if they're using fins, please make sure they use these cinches correctly, okay? And definitely try to encourage them to wear the fins. So when you distribute the equipment, make sure that the directors take note that we have equipment out, maybe mark down who has what in terms of boards and fins. And then our instructors are going to get them on the sand. Once again, their backs are to the ocean. And you just want to show them basic board positioning, right? Laying on the board, both forearms on the board. And here's an important one. Make sure they're tucking their elbows in, because when they're riding the wave, we don't want to see them like this, like pontooning, I call it, where your elbows are sticking off the side, because spray flies everywhere. They just don't have that level of control. So forearms on the board, elbows tucked in, hands on the top corners. Got that? Those three things, really important. And back arched and head up. So when they're riding a wave, they want to be positioned like this. They can lean from side to side to turn the board. That is the very basic lesson of beginning bodyboarding. And if you're pushing them into the wave, just keep watching them. See if they're doing what you told them. And once they get that down, you can actually tell them, hey, try knee riding. Get up on your knees. Scoot up on your knees and try to ride on your knees. That's always fun. It's an easy transition from prone to knee riding, and some of the kids might feel like they've accomplished something. For those of you that have more advanced riders that already know how to bodyboard, you're going to be showing them hand positions to go left, hand position to go right, right? So hand about 1/3 to 1/2 way down the outside rail, elbow up, front hand on the top corner with the forearm and the elbow on the board. So the easiest way to teach that is tell them always lead with the hand of the direction you're going, right? So you're going right, lead with your right hand. Going left, lead with your left hand. Pretty simple. Scoot forward for speed, back for control. So these are super basic lessons that are going to take you through most of the week. And then point out the benefit of fins as well, that they help you not only kick their way out into the surf, but they help you steer and control the board. You also want to teach them when they're kicking with fins to make sure they're scooted back far enough on the board so the fins are underwater when they're kicking, not slapping the surface. They got to keep the feet underwater, so bend at the waist, keep those fins underwater to get the maximum propulsion out of the fins. And when they're riding the wave, they can alternate lifting one leg or the other to help with the steering of the board. More advanced riders, you might teach them how to do a hand drag 360. Pretty simple move, right? If you're going down the wave and you want to do a 360, scoot forward, dig a hand in the water, and lift your feet and cross your legs and pivot your head in the direction you want to spin and lean that way. I'll link the video I have to that maneuver above, and you can watch that, and it might give you a tip on how to teach that maneuver to a kid that might want to learn that move. No-handed 360s, that's going to be for the more advanced riders. So I wouldn't worry about that unless you have an advanced rider, and we'll get the advanced instructors with those riders to learn the no-handed 360. If they're wearing swim fins, walk backwards into the water. Show them how to do that. Show them how to walk backward into the water until they're in water deep enough where they can spin around and lay on the board and kick their way out. If they try to walk forward with the fins on, they're going to fall flat on their face. So make sure that they're doing the backward walk, both in and out of the surf with the fins on. Don't let them put the fins on in the water. They're going to drop them and lose them. Put them on the sand, and so that's important. Let's see, surf etiquette. I think at the beginner level, the most important thing is going to be to tell them not to stand in front of somebody who's about to catch a wave, because they'll get run over, right? If they're a more advanced rider, those instructors with those riders, you can discuss surf etiquette, not to drop in on somebody who's already on a wave going a specific direction, the standard surf etiquette stuff. I don't think we're going to have a lot of kids at that level they'll need to know that, but I think it's important to let them know if they're in the water another time after camp's done or whatever, to avoid crowded areas, especially with surfboards if they're not at an advanced level, because they could get run over. They might accidentally drop in on somebody, and we all know that that's not good. If you get to the beach and the waves are big, again, you're going to have to assess the conditions and assess the ability level of your students and determine if they should be in the water that day. If they're not strong in the water, you don't want them getting knocked over in the surf and scared and all that. So that's where the camp directors are going to come in to give some beach game fun to these kids, right? Keep them occupied on the sand. And you'll get kids that just sometimes they just don't feel like going in the water. So directors, every day you need to have an activity on the beach for those kids that just don't want to go in the water. You will have kids like that. And the water's chilly right now at the beginning of June, so some kids might get cold in 10 minutes and be out of the water. So just beware, you're going to be needing to have something in the back pocket ready to keep those kids entertained. And they may just want to sit in the sand and dig a sandcastle. Who knows? You get a lot of that with these kind of young kids at beach camps. But again, the condition assessment is super important with this camp because, again, as I mentioned, the current sweeping into the pier. We do have yellow flags, so when the time comes for the session to end and it's snack time, we're going to have somebody, our camp director is going to wave a yellow flag, so the kids need to be made aware before going in the water. Hey, occasionally look out for the yellow flag. When you see it waving, it's time to come in. And then they'll come in and do whatever beach activity we have set up, whether it be snack or a game or whatever like that. So I think the most important thing here is we got to keep it positive, keep it fun, give them those basic instructions I went over, and try to establish a little bit of a relationship with the kids. You need to build their trust for them to entrust you to take them in the ocean with them. So we're trying to make kids comfortable in the surf, and that's pretty much it. Some kids may want to skimboard, or ride the mini boog. That's totally fine. Just make sure you always have eyes on your riders that are in your group, just to make sure they're okay, they're not getting sucked into the pier, and so forth. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach us and our directors, Kaylani and Megan. They're going to be learning at the same time all of you are how to do this. I feel like after we get done with a week, we're going to have it wired. It's not rocket science. Just go out there and enjoy. And thanks for watching. Sorry it was so long. Woohoo!